教啊
！ICRT 30天听懂新闻英文线上课程，什么自动驾驶、世界气候变迁主题都有，而且解释超齐全，孩子怎么教都会。快上 ICRT 官网搜寻30天听懂新闻英文。
So let's synchronize our watches in 3, 2, 1.
It's 6:59. Stay tuned for ICRT news and weather coming up next.
Mark.
云嘉民生展望电台90.5，高屏南台湾之声103.9，台东知本电台91.3，花莲泰鲁阁之音91.3，宜兰北宜产业电台89.9，澎湖社区电台89.7。
UFO Network。
现在时间早上7点整。今天是12月16号，星期一。基隆北海岸、台湾东北部、东部地区和大台北山区有零星短暂雨，其他地区跟澎湖、金门、马祖是多云。南方云系北移，南部、东南部地区和中部以北山区有零星短暂雨。桃园到云林沿海空旷地区以及恒春半岛、兰屿、绿岛、澎湖容易有较强阵风。今天开始，大陆冷气团减弱，早晚气温仍然偏低，白天气温稍微回升。凌晨2点48分，在新北市石碇区测得9.8度低温。白天各地气温，北部15到17度，中部14到20度，南部15到21度，东部16到21度，澎湖17到19度。部分人工智慧 AI 股票走强，带动以科技股为主的纳斯达克指数上涨，美股上周五互有涨跌。道琼工业指数中场下跌86.06点，收在43828.06点。标普500指数下跌0.16点，收在6051.09点。科技类股为主的纳斯达克指数上涨23.89点，收在19926.73点。费城半导体指数上涨167.589点，涨幅3.36%，收在5149.781点。立法院内政委员会今天将再度排审有关调整罢免门槛的选办法修正草案。民进党立委昨天晚上9点多开始在内政委员会所在的红楼202会议室外备战。民进党团干事长吴思瑶说，将立党选罢法全天备战，速也不懈。台湾向美国采购的第一批N1A2T 战车，昨天凌晨运到台北港。今天凌晨0点多，载运10辆战车的民间重型拖板车开离台北港，转运到新竹中心部。继续关心早报重要新闻，今天《中国时报》和《自由时报》头版头条都是 N1A2T 战车抵达台湾的消息。《中国时报》地表最强战车第一批 N1A2T 抵台，美军现役装备台湾特规版，未来将部署北部滩岸要地。先来38辆，明后年再加42辆、28辆。老旧 N60A3 勇虎战车部分汰除，战车训场工期延宕，立委冻结预算。联合报头版头条：南韩在野提议共治祖国政协商机制，执政党党鞭说不。最大在野党共同民主党党魁李在明说，暂时不弹劾总理，代理总统韩植珠访国会。李在明再争取总统宝座起手式，隐形业拒绝到案说明，检方再发传票。联合报头版还有双城论坛，上海主团71人今天抵达台湾，主论坛明天登场。台北市长蒋万安晚宴采柔性基调，市府人士批评双赢好棋，北海陆棋下成死棋。中国时报头版报道，川普让台湾猜不透。美国有线电视新闻网 CNN 呼吁台湾自保，提高国防支出，强化互动，加强宣传半导体产业。自由时报头版，法国调查全球冲突论述，80%支持台湾应该由人民自决。8个国家形象调查，台湾仅次于法国。中国时报头版，血癌男性、乳癌女性冻精卵，明年补助。卫福部医疗性生育保存计划限40岁以下。自由时报头版图文，比雾凇硬度更硬，玉山气象站零下5.7度C 结霜松。工商时报头版头条，外资爆股跨年，中期16档，台股年中行情鸣枪起跑，挑战前高24416点，野心还在，台积电等多头股下好离手。 版头条：台积地缘政治急单涌入，川普2.0效应，客户预防性囤货，明年科万有望迎最旺淡季。企业策略办公室人士三角成型。继续关心今天早报内页重要消息。中国时报：双城论坛台商呼吁千万不能断。上海市副市长华元今天抵台，由台北市副市长林奕华接机。上海台协说，没有政府支持，民间交流难以落实。自由时报：川普关税2.0，中国制造霸权走向末路，国内消费只占 GDP 大约55%，加剧工业产能过剩问题。联合报：国民力量严重分裂，韩东勋今天辞党魁，党内不满支持弹劾，记者会突然暂停，未来党内路线仍然难以。中国时报：巩固韩美同盟，韩植株和拜登通话，拜登肯定韩国民主韧性。韩国外交部长表示，维持和美国、日本合作，与中国保持紧密沟通。自由时报：以网红梦想赢新疆喝奶茶、茶会等名义，中共统战深入校园，拉拢台湾年轻人。联合报：赖政府给上海穿小鞋，大陆不随之起舞，显示上海团看重双城论坛，在严峻的两岸关系下有特殊意义。联合报：最强战车到了，装甲战力跃进30年，向美国采购108辆 A1A2，第一批38辆昨天抵台，但是新装备也带来后勤压力。自由时报：蓝营动国安法案，绿营批帮助中国削弱我们防卫，修法搭配删预算，中共操作在台代理人的策略。中国时报：3项法案见缝插针，绿营计划联白抗蓝。吴思瑶说，鹰派当权突破有困难，国民党酸绿营不是真心合作，只想搓掉民众党版本。联合报话题版：卫生纸丢马桶公测推16年没效，只有17%养成好习惯，至今仍然过半数仍然丢垃圾桶。立委要求环境部了解先进国家的做法。联合报：还要降温，明天开始2波冷气团接力到。昨天武陵农场低温1.3，各地温泉涌进人潮。周二台北下探12度，周六冷气团影响到下周一。社会焦点联合报：立即异动即时通申请6都爆量，民众被骗怕了。新北今年申请案量超过14年总和，异动12项情形都会通知。自由时报：万里山区惊见巨石图腾阵，占地4000多坪，疑似新兴组织进行神秘宗教仪式。北部要闻联合报：年轻人出走，台北市人口雪崩下滑，9月又跌到250万以下，最多略减3800人。专家呼吁平价社宅留人，民代要求严厉对策。中国时报：大陆跟时代台北市感叹没人没钱，重建案量大，规发局缺人严重，引进审查超过150天，希望联合5都向中央争取奖金。联合报：50天2项环评通过，环团台中抗议，16个团体诉求2028中短如美。白银立委立法院提主决议文，白银立委响应，台电指出已经努力减煤减空污。中国时报：挺张善政连任，蓝营激愤绿营乱表象，民进党台面上人选不跟地方没有太大渊源。主管主席朱立伦赞赏张善政染疫度高，全党爱听。中国时报：时尚头一遭，促餐改善漏水率，经费800亿，计划导入寿险类资金，将筛选封闭小区试行，全案最快明年推出。联合报：传出苹果3月推平价 AI 手机 iPhone SE4 软硬体大升级，1.5万元起，业界看好吸引换机潮。国际两岸焦点联合报：ABC 主播指川普性侵，掏4.9亿和解，评论卡沃尔案遭控诽谤，愿意公开道歉。《纽约时报》说，川普罕见胜利，主流媒体重大威胁。中国时报： 与中国建交，尼加拉瓜得不偿失，借款10亿美元，利率高达10%，廉价品倾销，本土商店掀起倒闭潮。联合报。大陆刘姓老翁花钱抢救，家属来台探视落空，担心申请条件不符，没能来台，找县议员协助后返家。议会说没有收到申请。焦点自由时报，东龙鏖战23天收尾，224直棒季才能落幕。自由时报，24台北马拉松追平役称霸国内。以上新闻是海伦编辑播报。
我们的路口拦计程车吧。
路口拦车危险，会影响交通，还会害司机记违违点数哦。
那该在哪里交车啊？
避免在交叉路口或公车站10公尺内上下车，提前招呼站、转运站或允许临停的黄线区域。
叫车也要选地点哦。
当然了，事先预约也要提前或准时。Oil tankers took heavy storm damage in the Kerch Strait, spilling oil and sparking an emergency rescue operation. Russian officials told state news outlets that the Volga-Neft 212 tanker, with a crew of 13 and a cargo of fuel oil, ran aground on Sunday and had its bow torn away. A second tanker, the Volga-Neft 239, was also damaged in the storm and left adrift. Reports say together the two ships were carrying almost 9,000 tons of heavy, low-grade fuel oil. Russian officials confirmed this spill, but said that experts were still working to assess its full impact and extent. The Kerch Strait separates the Russian-occupied Crimean Peninsula from Russia and is an important global shipping route, providing passage from the Sea of Azov to the Black Sea. Meanwhile, a Ukrainian drone has struck Russia's Chechnya as Kiev continues pushback after Moscow bombardment. AP correspondent Karen Thomas reports.
A Ukrainian drone has struck a campus belonging to Russia's National Guard in the Russian region of Chechnya as Kyiv continues to strike back after a mass air attack from Moscow. Footage on social media showed a drone swooping low over the Chechen capital Grozny, some 500 miles southeast of the front line in Ukraine, before exploding. No casualties were reported. Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov pledged revenge on Ukrainian forces and said he had ordered a missile strike against military facilities in Kharkiv in retaliation for the attack. Ukraine could not be independently verified. I'm Karen Thomas.
Hundreds are feared dead after Cyclone Cheetah made its way through the South Indian Ocean. AP correspondent Karen Thomas also has the story.
France's Interior Ministry says Cyclone Cheetah caused devastating damage in the French territory of Mayotte in the Indian Ocean. The ministry said it was proving difficult to get a precise tally of the dead and injured. Footage released by the French Civil Protection Agency showed rescue services and armed forces cleaning up debris and trees strewn across the street. A tropical cyclone blew through the southeastern Indian Ocean and also affected Comoros and Madagascar. Cheetah has now made landfall in Mozambique on the African mainland, where emergency officials have warned that 2.5 million people could be impacted in two northern provinces. UNICEF Mozambique spokesperson Guy Taylor.
We're also worried about the long-term impacts. Children potentially being cut off from learning for weeks on end, people unable to get access to healthcare, and the potential spread of waterborne diseases like cholera and malaria.
December through to March is cyclone season in the southeastern Indian Ocean, and southern Africa has been pummeled by a series of strong
作者呢，廖玉涵先生。好，那这本书呢，已经出版，它有个副标题呢是《茶经岁月的前传》。《茶经岁月》这本书以及《茶经岁月》，茶经呢改编成了公式的剧集之后，在几年前呢，曾经呢是宣传一时的热门话题，它让人家看到了台湾的茶艺史，借着一个新竹、北埔、客家的家族，他们经营了茶叶的产业的这个茶史。我们你知道茶后面加一个金，这个是我们在语言运用当中很特别，就像我们谈到美元的时候会加上美金，茶叶呢会加上茶金，或者像闽南话讲的 香蕉，我们讲的香蕉呢里面的顶揪的那种呢，就是你就知道它曾经呢是非常重要的经济产业，茶叶也好，香蕉也好，都是非常重要的经济产业。感觉上面呢都好像是那种我的金粉一样。好，那茶叶产业就是叶产业，为什么叫做茶经？就知道在某一段时间里面，台湾的茶叶产业是兴盛是蓬勃，所以呢才会有那个茶经岁月。但这本书呢叫做《茶经岁月前传的生途年代》。那任安先生的这个呢，他的出版，但是今天呢，在我们的现场呢，为大家呢导读这本书的，是由这本书《生途年代茶经岁月前传》呢做稿件呢整理的，他是江拉新教育基金会的董事廖慧庆。
大家好，各位观众好，各位听众好。
廖慧庆跟廖玉跟什么关系？
廖玉他是我的爸爸，我是他第三个女儿。我们家里的小孩子很多，那我是兄弟姐妹都在国外，只有我在国内。所以我就是看父母，就觉得父母在哪里，我就要在哪里。
你这样讲现在都很轻松，可不是因为好那。
但是我觉得台湾是一个很特别的地方。我到国外去，再怎么美的风景，因为兄弟姐妹都会劝我们啊，去这里啊，去那里啊，我就觉得我去看看别人美丽的风景，那毕竟不是自己的国家，还是想回来吧。即使立法院调整，即使
我当我这个年纪的时候，我也有这种强烈的感觉。就是到这个年纪的时候，就真的会感觉到，以前俗话讲的，就金窝银窝不如自己的狗窝。就是你告诉我说什么地方多好，谁家多好，那都不重要。就是一个我一进来之后呢，不管是我的装潢啊、摆设等等，我就觉得康复的好，这个地方呢，那个呢是最好。到了这个年纪了，安适自在的，基本上是价值千金万金。好，我们回到讲到故事，就是说，你现在有了茶经岁月之后，为什么还要整理这个茶经岁月的前传？
是因为我爸爸的故事实在太精彩了，因为我爸爸对着我一个人说故事，说了这么多年，那这些故事，当然后来因为我觉得我一个人听太可惜。
他几岁的时候？
爸爸现在97岁了，那他在民国84年的时候开始讲故事给我听。
然后他现在都还清楚吗？
都还很清楚，我们叫稿子，他叫稿子。
这么厉害哦！
对，
哇！
我们叫了12次，其中有几次是拜托他把字放很大给他会说 OK。
其实我到这个我最怕那种就是记忆力很好的老人家，就是你什么都骗不了他。因为有的时候你知道我们跟老人相处啊，你是说敷衍他，就是其实是怎么样的，可是你骗不了他，那个很难过，他什么都不知道。对。
后来爸爸就是把故事写下来。那因为我们6个孩子跟爸爸在台生活的时候，因为我们54年，祖父就是江拉新的产业失败以后，我们必须要到台北来。那这50多年之间，我们一直搬家，然后为了孩子受教育，爸爸妈妈就是就觉得说读书最重要啦，有钱也没有用。尤其是我妈妈自己是觉得，因为她是茶壶的女儿，所以在这中间，因为一份工作总是不够生活，所以爸爸晚上都在写翻译。那他因为自己虽然是念台大经济系，但是他的历史跟文学是他最大的兴趣，所以他除了就是翻译很多杂志之外，他最后是去考上国防部的中日作战史的翻译古文，所以他把中文练好了。要不然这个年纪的老人家
他本来应该擅长是日文，对，他在日文，他显然对于日本的文字、日本的文学是非常有兴趣，
尤其是排剧，他到现在每个月还做排剧。
这个就是一个受日本教育的，日本文化，毕竟那个是日剧时代，但之后还能够把中文把国语学好。那不太容易，那本事办得非常
师，所以家里有很多那种中文的一些古书，线稿书。所以我爸爸他也有承认，他去插班考大学的时候都没在念书，都在看我叔叔的这些闲书。他说那段时间的阅读对他的中文帮助也是很大。
那还是要很用功的。你光以他的年纪，
他有时候我去带孙子很多嘛，去帮忙带小孩，他就带40本书出国，行李箱里面，然后不读完他就回来了，就是这样子的一个人。坐车啊，看医生啊，门诊啊，都是看书，手不释卷的一个人。
好，那他作为在一个
Diesel drops to 27.2 in week after OPEC plus member states delayed plans to increase output. And CPC says it chose to absorb part of the cost increase to comply with the government's policy of keeping domestic fuel prices lower than major neighbouring markets. CPC adjusts its fuels prices based on a formula comprised of 70% Dubai crude and 30% Brent crude. And based on that formula, the price of international crude oil rose by $0.28 a barrel from the previous week. Formosa Petrochemical has made similar adjustments to its price at the pump from this morning. And a survey by human resources advisory company Manpower Group shows that about a third of employers here in Taiwan say they plan to hire more staff early next year, while a majority either expect to hire the same number of staff as this year or expect to hire fewer people. According to the survey results, 33% of the 645 employers polled expect to hire more people in the first quarter of next year, while 17% so they anticipate a decline in hiring, and 48% so their hiring plans remain unchanged. Manpower Group says after seasonal adjustments, Taiwan's overall net hiring outlook index for the January to March period will likely stand about 17%. That's up from 16% in the previous quarter, but down from 19% over the same period of this year. In international business news now, and small businesses in America say their cautious shoppers are seeking cosy and festive this holiday season. And the AP's Jackie Quinn explains what that means.
Small business retailers are pulling out all the stops this year to entice buyers in this shortened holiday shopping period. Owners of small retail shops say the top-selling gifts appear to be cozy items this year, like sweaters and fuzzy alpaca wool scarves. Customers have been snapping up holiday decor. Some merchants are holding special events to drive up holiday traffic, like a Friends Boutique in Philadelphia, focusing on men's accessories. Oakland, California gift store owner Nathan Walden says he had a booming Black Friday, but shopping has slowed since then. The National Retail Federation predicts holiday shopping this year will be up between 2.5% and 3.5% over last year. I'm Jackie Quinn.
More Japanese women are now brewing sake. The AP's Karen Chamas explains.
Women are gradually breaking into Japan's traditionally dominated sake brewing industry, challenging centuries-old customs. Not long after the break of dawn, Japanese toji or master sake brewer Mie Takahashi is on early shift, checking the temperature of fermenting sake at her family's 150-year-old brewery in Okaya, a city nestled in the foothills of the Japanese Alps. Speaking to the AP, she says, it's still mostly a male-dominated industry, but I think now many people focus on whether someone has the passion and skills regardless of gender. Although sake making has a history of more than 1,000 years, when the liquor turned into mass production over 400 years ago, an unspoken rule of barring women from breweries emerged. The gradual breakdown of gender barriers, coupled with the shrinking workforce caused by the aging population, created space for more women to take ground in sake production. I'm Karen Chamas.
And looking at this weekend's US box office now, where the Spider-Man spin-off Kraven the Hunter got off to a rather disastrous start in North American theatres, earning only $11 million, while My Owner 2 easily beat
Let's go!
Becoming the fourth largest grossing film of the year, with $717 million globally. And AB's Margie Zaranetta reports.
Audiences keep saying yes to Moana and Wicked, but they say no to a new Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. Moana 2 is still a massive force at the box office. It added an another $26.6 million to its domestic earnings in its third weekend, according to studio estimates. Wicked is in second place with $22.5 million. Kraven the Hunter, based on a Spider-Man character, made only $11 million. It's one of the worst openings for a Marvel project and puts it in third place. Gladiator 2 is number 4 and Red 5th. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
Sport now professional basketball league where the new Taipei Kings beat the Kaohsiung Aquas 178 at the Kaohsiung Arena, while the Formosa Dreamers beat the Taipei 123 to 107 at the Herping Gymnasium in Taipei. And looking at the standings following this weekend's games,
Kaohsiung Arena,
while the Dreamers remain in second place, the Aquas are third, the Mars are fourth, the new Taipei CTBC DA dropped to fifth place, the Taoyuan Beer Leopards are sixth, and the Hsinchu Lioneers remain at the bottom of the standings. And in Sunday's Plus League game, the Taoyuan Pilots beat the Kaohsiung Sealers 91 to 74 at the Taoyuan Arena to move further ahead at the top of the standings there. Turning to European soccer now, Manchester United scored twice in the closing minutes to stage a late comeback to beat Manchester City 2-1 in the English Premier League. Tottenham Hotspur scored all of its goals in the first half as the London club beat bottom of the table Southampton 5-0. Chelsea closed the gap on Liverpool at the top of the standings to 2 points after beating Brentford 2-1 at Stamford Bridge. And Crystal Palace beat Brighton and Hove Albion 3-1 to move 4 points clear of the relegation zone. In Scotland, missiles were thrown at police officers during violent scenes in Glasgow and the Scottish League Cup final between Celtic and Rangers. Videos shared on social media appear to show flares let off in Glasgow city centre and gangs of masked people running through the streets. Some shoppers could be seen taking cover in store entrances as people charged past. The match ended 3-3 after extra time, and Celtic went on to win 5-4 on penalties at Hampden Park. In Spain now, Barcelona failed to move clear at the top of La Liga after losing 1-0 to 15th place Leganés. Atletico moved into second place on goal difference.
Go, let's go!
Betis beat Villarreal 2-1. Alaves and Atletico Club drew 1-1. Real Sociedad and Las Palmas played to a goalless draw. In Germany now, and Hoffenheim scored in the first minute of stoppage time to earn a 1-1 draw against Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga. Leipzig beat Eintracht Frankfurt 2-1, while Stuttgart beat Heidenheim 3-1 to climb 2 places in the standings to 6th place. In Italy, Bologna moved into 7th place in the Serie A standings after beating 4th place Fiorentina 1-0. Lecce beat Monza 2-1. Como beat Roma 2-0. Hellas Verona beat Parma 3-2, while AC Milan and Girona drew 0-0. And in France, Paris Saint-Germain moved 7 points clear at the top of Ligue 1 after beating 5th place Lyon 3-1. Brest beat Nantes 4-1. Nice twice failed to hold on to its lead in a 2-2 draw at bottom of the table Montpellier. Rennes beat Angers 2-0, while Strasbourg beat Le Havre 3-0. And in news from the NBA now, and the Thunder beat the Rockets to advance to the NBA Championship. And Bruce Morton has the story.
It's on to the NBA Cup Finals for Oklahoma City. Thunder made it to the championship game by pulling away in the fourth quarter to defeat Houston 111 to 96. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was game high with 32 points. OKC coach Mark Daigneault.
The thing that always impresses me about him is he just has an unwavering confidence. Regardless of what's going on in the game, his confidence stays at the same level. He continues to play, and the game usually comes around for him because he keeps his head in it, and he's a great player.
A 13-3 Golden run expanded their lead to 97-82 with 4:57 to go. OKC go on to meet the Milwaukee Bucks on Tuesday night in Las Vegas. I'm Bruce Morton.
And in the NFL now, Joe Burrow set a franchise record with 3 more touchdown passes as the Bengals beat the Titans. And Jerome K. Gerber was there.
In a game that was basically a comedy of errors, the Cincinnati Bengals managed to beat the Tennessee Titans 37-27 in Music City. Despite 10 total turnovers, a missed extra point, and 26 combined penalties that cost the two combatants over 220 yards, Cincinnati quarterback Joe Burrow won his 6th game of the year, going 26-37 for 271 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Burrow says, despite the win, he was not impressed by the offense in this one.
It was too sloppy. We had too many penalties, too many procedural penalties. I had too many turnovers. It was just a frustrating day on offense.
Titans running back Tyjae Spears.
Wake up! Wake up!
On the ground and 1 through the air. Jeremy King over Nashville.
And that was a look at this morning's business and sports news here on ICRT with me, Gavin Phipps. And looking at the weather across Taiwan today now, well, the Central Weather Administration says we can expect cloudy skies in the north, centre and east, with a high of 17 degrees in Taipei, and a high of 20 degrees over the Taichung and Hualien areas, and mostly cloudy skies in the south. We'll see a high of 21 degrees in Kaohsiung. Looking at the current temperatures though, it's 15 degrees at the moment in Taipei, 14 degrees in Taichung and Kaohsiung, and 16 degrees in Hualien. It's now coming up at 7:30 here on ICRT, and stay tuned for more news and information.
欢迎收听祝君健康。正气存内，邪不可干，是中医预防医学的最大原则。透过调和气血，提升免疫力，改善身体机能，比如经络伸展、八段锦养生操、呼吸吐纳训练、穴位按摩、3伏39敷贴、养生茶饮，治疗方式多元。像是望闻问切，能提早发现身体异常，借由望脸色、肤况、闻口气、问诊和切脉推估，预防疾病生成。另外，许多论文数据研究显示，3高或慢性肾病等在长期西药控制不佳，中医介入后疗效更佳，甚至逐步减少药物。卫福部也推广中医慢性肾病门诊，加强照护计划，改善肾脏病，避免洗肾风险。以上单元由各种疑难杂症中医 can help 的马光中医提供。美国地产投资拿绿卡，找飞达富科技人 NIW 医生教授免投资。飞达富12月29日礼拜天下午2点，台北喜来登绿卡移民说明会，02-2700-9595，2700-9595，救我，找飞达富。嗨，我是30天，
我是新闻英文，欢迎收听30天听懂新闻英文。
今天要和大家分享听众使用 ICRT 30天听懂新闻英文线上课程的心得喽。
首先是谢导演，他说这套线上课程的录音功能很棒，透过录音和回放功能反复练习，英文越来越溜。很推哦。这是陈小姐，她说工作很忙，只能利用零碎时间学英文。30天听懂新闻英文，只要透过手机就能上线学习，超赞的。
最后是外国朋友很多的曾小姐，
哇哦，她英文一定很好。
聊天 OK， 但聊时事不行。想说趁居家工作试试，现在英文语感变好，透过线上课程模仿主播腔调，台湾腔也渐渐消失喽。
太棒了！
每每30天听懂。
Hello, this is 6-Minute English from BBC Learning English. I'm Phil.
And I'm Georgie. For most parents, their baby's first word is a special moment. This happens after an early stage of language development called babble, when babies start making simple sounds like ga.
Bubble tea.
Babies have to learn to use their mouth muscles to make specific sounds. They experiment with different sounds and mouth shapes. So, what exactly is happening when babies start learning to speak? What do you think, Georgie?
Well, Phil, I'm no expert, but I imagine they watch the adults around them and kind of copy and imitate what they do. What do you think?
I definitely think that's what my children did when they were learning to speak. But let's compare our ideas with those of the expert. Professor Julian Pine from Liverpool University, speaking here on BBC Radio 4, and he lists the skills that babies develop in order to speak.
Well, one of the first things the child's got to do is they've got to break down the speech stream into words.
Bye, 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 bye.
So they've got to learn what the words mean. Right.
In this program, we'll discover how babies learn to speak, and as usual, we'll learn some useful new vocabulary. And on the subject of words, remember you can find a list of this program's vocabulary on our website, bbclearningenglish.com. Some people find it helpful to study the vocabulary before listening.
And another thing to do before listening is ask my question. Georgie, we've mentioned the babbling noises that babies make when learning to speak, but at what age does this usually start? Is it A, around 6 months old, B, around 9 months old, or C, around 1 year old?
Okay, I think my best guess would be A, around 6 months old.
Okay, well, we'll find out a little bit later on in the program. Let's return to Professor Pine's list. The first thing babies do is recognize where individual words start and end. For this, it helps to know that, in English at least,
Words often begin with a stressed syllable, the sound in a word which is emphasized by being spoken longer or louder. Learning this takes time, and here Professor Pine and Michael Rosen, presenter of BBC Radio 4's programme Word of Mouth, discuss children who haven't quite discovered it yet.
And we can see this in the kind of errors that children make, because little kids will often call a giraffe a raff by leaving off the unstressed syllable, because that's not typical English.
I've got an example of this. My son used to call a machine a smenge. It just hit the stress. It didn't bother with the muh bit.
Yeah, exactly.
We may have thought it was my smenge, of course. That's the other thing. Yes.
And the classic example, of course, is nana instead of banana.
Yes. I think I call them that.
One error, mistake, infants make is calling a giraffe a raff, because they cut off the first syllable, G, because it's not stressed.
The classic example of this is when children say nana instead of banana. A classic example of something means the best example of it, one containing all the features you expect such a thing to have. For example, ants are a classic example of animals working together.
The second skill babies develop as they learn to speak is correctly linking a word to the object it refers to. In other words, knowing what the word means. As adults, we do this without thinking, but it's actually much harder than it sounds, as Professor Julian Pine explains to BBC Radio 4 programme Word of Mouth.
Well, we take for granted the fact that it's not obvious what word refers to in the environment, but actually if you look at it from the child's point of view, it's really difficult to work out what a word refers to, because there's so many things it could refer to. So, the speech signal is very ambiguous. How does the child know that you're talking about the cup in front of you or the pen in front of you when you say pen or cup?
As adults, we take it for granted that when a friend says apple, they mean that round, red thing on the table. To take it for granted means to assume something without question. But for a baby, the link between the word apple and the object is not obvious. It's ambiguous, meaning it has more than one possible meaning.
Wow, who knew so much was going on inside babies' sponge-like brains as they soak up the sounds they hear? Right, Phil, isn't it time to reveal the answer to your question?
It is indeed. The question was, at what age do babies start to make babbling noises?
And I said it was around 6 months.
And that is the correct answer.
Yay!
Babies start to do this when they're about 6 months old. Okay, let's recap the vocabulary that we've learnt, starting with babble, the meaningless noises babies make as they're learning to speak.
The stressed syllable in a word is the sound which is emphasized by being longer, louder, or higher.
An error is a mistake.
The classic example of something is the most typical example of it, containing its most important features.
If you take something for granted, you accept or assume it without question.
And finally, the adjective ambiguous means having more than one possible meaning. Once again, our 6 minutes are up, but if you're ready for more, you'll find the worksheet with a quiz and a transcript for this program on our website. See you there soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Keep listening for the latest from the world of science.
I'm Dr. Anthony Lazowitz, and this is Climate Connections. There's a growing need for workers trained in energy efficiency and weatherization, which can reduce the climate warming pollution produced by buildings. And an AmeriCorps program based in North Minneapolis is helping train that workforce.
We're not working with people that are coming in with a large degree of experience in this. These are people that are coming in with an interest, frequently with an interest in climate, and sometimes with an interest more in building systems and trades.
Matt Rogie is with the Minnesota Energy Climate Corps, a paid 11-month program run by the Conservation Corps of Minnesota and Iowa. He says trainees in the Energy Climate Corps learn about energy efficiency and weatherization and conduct energy audits at state park facilities, recreation centers, and other public buildings.
With an eye more towards building envelope, so the insulation, the ceiling, making sure attics are airtight, things like that.
The program especially recruits trainees from groups that are underrepresented in efficiency jobs.
We're based out of North Minneapolis, which is a predominantly Black community in Minnesota here.
And he says so far, about half of the trainees are from the area. So the program is helping build a more diverse energy efficiency workforce. Climate Connections is produced by the Yale Center for Environmental Communication. To learn more about climate change, visit climateconnections.org.
Sorry, I'm driving, just me. So, here is in Taiwan, Hainan.
Hello, you're listening to the BBC World Service. And now witness history with me, Megan Jones. The Suez Canal in Egypt is a busy and famous key trade route connecting the Mediterranean to the Red Sea. It's an unlikely place to call home. But today, I'm taking you back to 1967, when 14 ships from 8 different countries ended up trapped there for years.
You just can't understand just how totally boring it was day after day. The same routine. We'd swap books with all the other ships and read everything that was going.
It's the 5th of June 1967. The British merchant ship the Melampus is carrying electrical items and making its way back to the UK. It's anchored in an area of the Suez Canal called the Great Lake, waiting for ships on the other side to pass. 18-year-old assistant steward Phil Saul is on deck looking out across the water towards Egypt when he notices something in the distance.
We saw a big cloud of black smoke arising from the airport on the banks of the lakes, and as we came abreast of the airport, 4 fighter bombers flew low across the lake and proceeded to bomb the airfield.
Then an announcement on the radio.
South Korea! Oh, yeah! South Korea now is a famous place because
some strange reason
many things in your country.
Behind the scenes action by Egypt would change Phil's future and leave him and the 13 other ships around the Melampus trapped.
Every day I hear the information from the news for the South Korea.
But they wouldn't be back in England anytime soon. As a
nice, clean country. Yes, it is.
On June the 5th, 1967, Israeli forces launched an all-out attack on Arab forces in the Sinai Desert, and so
Taiwan.
The Six-Day War. Tension between Israel and her Arab neighbors had been growing for months.
So you say my resolution is not good? Maybe because
group of us were on deck having a coffee. It was about 8 o'clock in the morning. Someone heard
because something wrong.
A person swimming trying to swim towards the ship. We then noticed there were a few other of these guys swimming out to us. Through binoculars we could see that the Sinai Desert was following these guys. It was the remains of the Egyptian army that were trying to get away from the Israeli army.
In response to the strike on the
look like a Egyptian.
An exit of the Suez Canal.
Once the southbound convoy had gone through, we were given permission to go through by the Egyptian authorities.
The war continued around them until, on the 10th of June 1967,
because I'm driving, so I cannot see the more, see the what you say. But if I stop here, I check everything is safe, and I can read. It's okay now, better resolution, because maybe before I used another mobile phone for his Wi-Fi for another, so it's a trans 1 and trans 2, and I'm moving on the super highway, so it must resolution is not good. Maybe we want to go into the 6G. Now it's a 5G. Maybe 4G. Some place. So we must improve into the 6G. and the information, the data transport is faster.
The trips continued.
And we will not have that lower resolution. So I'm sorry for my friends.
The 14 ships were from 8 different countries, including France, Poland and Sweden. Each one took on its own role in this community created on the lake.
Various ships have different types of entertainment. There's housey nights and barbecue nights and film nights.
And what's a housey night?
I thought I knew what the housey night was. Playing housey, you fill in the cards.
Hi.
Numbers that are drawn out. If you manage to fill the cards.
What are they doing?
Like bingo.
That's it. Bingo. I was trying to think the English word.
Now that's cleared up. Phil also found other ways to have some fun.
I went, so I never see people ride motorcycle or bike.
The bottom of the beer locker. We were down to the last few cases of McEwen's ale. I don't know
why. I don't know.
Ale's like, but it's very dark.
Maybe some city is not smooth.
So used to lager beer that I couldn't drink this dark beer, and I thought that
many city if it's
after you up drinking because I couldn't
just like
and lo and behold,
the China.
The following morning, a barge pulls alongside the stores on board, and prominent amongst the stores is a pallet of East German lager,
Chongqing,
which really made my day.
By this time, Phil had moved to another British ship, the Agapina. The initial excitement was starting to fade.
Myself and the second steward and the second cook, we spent some afternoon sitting outside the galley door with a fly swatter to see who could kill the most flies one after the other without missing any. And this was the most exciting part of our day. Killing flies. The second steward held the record at 25 on the run.
Not very exciting if you ask me. 3 months in, news came through to the Agapina that new crew would be making their way to the ships to keep up with the maintenance and protecting what was on board.
For replacement crews, it's about a 112-mile drive from Cairo through the green, fertile farmland bordering one of these sweet water canals to the shores of the Great Bitter Lake toward the southern end of the Suez Canal.
Time on the Great Bitter Lake was coming to an end. Do you remember how you felt 3 months?
I will arrive.
Coming to an end.
So excited. It was such a unique feeling. Yeah, really exciting. Just couldn't wait to get out of there at that stage because it really had become so totally.
Phil wasn't exactly rushing back.
I was called into the office and asked would I go back out to the Agapina to relieve the crew that had relieved me. And I explained to the catering superintendent that I didn't want to go back out there. It was too boring. I hadn't joined the merchant navy to sit in the Suez Canal.
But the new
I will arrive.
A growing community on board.
I'm arriving.
New crowds, the guys that did go back out, they formed an association, Great Bitter Lakes Association. They made their own stamps, which are worth quite a bit of money these days. And they held like a Olympics type thing.
Olympics.
That wouldn't have enticed me to go back out there.
But Phil insists.
I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
In total, those 14 ships would stay on the Great Bitter Lake for 8 years, as the Suez Canal wasn't cleared and reopened until 1975. A year earlier, Phil Saul had left the Navy and now aged 76 lives in New Zealand. He was speaking to me, Megan Jones, for Witness History.
本节新闻由路比美国加拿大移民留学顾问公司赞助播出。
This ICRT newscast was brought to you by Luby Consulting, providing expert guidance on U.S. Canadian immigration and overseas education.
And overseas education.
顾问公司的总经理 Rick Chu， 移民不等于移居，移民是一项投资，投资子女教育，投资家庭未来。如何以最经济、快速以及最正确的方式取得美国、加拿大身份护照，
美国、加拿大留学的申请、教育制度以及全世界主要国家投资移民方案、护照的选择。路比公司提供你最专业、最诚信的移民咨询服务。路比公司是你移民信赖的品牌。
24小时权威移民律师及专业顾问，提供您免费咨询服务。
I am arriving.
02-2707-2111。
My friend.
的品牌路比国际移民顾问公司。
The good place is for my study. You know? I'm in study. I'm arrived. Man. Stop my car. This is a good place. So, thank you for my friend. I will say bye-bye. 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 See you next time.